It was running great. Thing was really hauling the mail, and all of a sudden, I mean, no warning. It didn't nose over, it didn't do anything. It just went kaboom, and that was one hell of a concussion, let me tell you.
If you thought Gary Scelzi's Friday night ride was wild, the racing gods were even uglier to him yesterday. Despite what you're looking at, Gary Scelzi climbed from his top-fueled dragster. He was okay. It was one of the most devastating accidents that the heartland of America had ever seen. The engine blows, dissecting that power plant. The chassis literally ripped apart. But as you'd expect of Gary Scelzi, he had the presence of mind to deploy his parachutes, averting an even greater disaster. But he was just along for the ride as this machine crumbled as though it were a paper napkin flying in the wind.
By the grace of God and Brad Hadman, who built that car, this is Gary Scelzi. As they load the remains, it's hard to believe we're talking.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to tell you what, that was something I don't ever want to go through again. I don't want anybody else to ever go through. You know, we put our lives on the line a lot of times, and I'm going to tell you what, Brad Hadman builds a hell of a race car. He puts an extra upright in the driver's compartment, and Simpson builds a fire suit that's unbelievable. And I'll tell you what, my guys worked day and night last night getting things ready, and I don't know what happened, but it was definitely a mechanical failure. It was nothing they'd done. It's just one of those things.
Now what do you do? Try to fix the car that you hurt last night? Well,
that's definitely, it's going to be picked up tomorrow and head back to Hadman's to get fixed. We've got another car in Santa Maria that'll be on a truck probably in a couple hours and be heading to Memphis.
You're done here.
Well, unless I can make a deal with somebody and get in their car, if we can find another Hadman car, put it together and make another checkout pass for qualifying, but I don't want it to be over yet.
We'll follow that story.
Nope, they didn't want this weekend to be over in qualifying. And last night at the Neal and Parks chassis shops here in Topeka, Kansas, a shop where normally sportsman teams find the birthplace of their race cars, it was home to Team Winston. They did literally burn the midnight oil. The Brad Hadman chassis straightened, parts were replaced. The plan was to run again today in the 11th annual Advance Auto Parts NHRA Nationals. The work continues in the pits. Bobby Gerald has the story.
Well, Eli, Gary Scelzi said he didn't want it to end yesterday, and guess what? It's not going to end. He is back to race another day. It's an amazing story, a total team effort by this team. They've had 10 guys working around the clock on this car nonstop. And here's how they're going to get around the NHRA rule, which says that you can only replace one car. This is actually the cockpit that was involved in the nasty crash yesterday. But much like your home vehicle, there is an identification number right here called the SFI tag that NHRA has registered this dragster with. Now, from about here to about back here, it's the same car. But from here on back, it's John Mitchell's dragster. And from the front forward, it is the dragster that was involved in the Friday night accident. These guys have had no sleep. They've been working around the clock again last night, taking this car to a local shop around 6 o'clock, welding until about midnight, coming back over here to the Heartland Park dragway and working till 4 in the morning. They went back to the motel, got a couple hours of sleep, and now they're back over here ready to try it again. The bottom line, resiliency from Gary Scelzi and his team, Steve Evans, that is just unbelievable. I just really can't believe that we're going to see this guy going down the drag strip again today.
Well, Bobby, I have an amazing story as well. Somebody other than Warren Johnson is on the pole in pro stock. Yesterday morning, the car in the near lane, the Valspar Pontiac, driven by Richie the Kid Stevens of New Orleans, 688, 198 miles an hour. Are you at all surprised that you got the pole?
Yeah, we've been trying for a long time to get this pole position, and we've come up a little short, but we finally got it here in Topeka. And thanks to my crew chief, Tommy Yutt. He's done a wonderful job this weekend tuning the car, my crew as well. And we finally got some good power from finish line this weekend, and the Valsport car is on the pole.
You get Mike Edwards first round. Not an easy one.
Not an easy draw at all. Mike's an excellent driver and a great leaver, and it's going to be a tough round, first round, but hopefully we can come away with a win.
Have a safe day.
Thank you.
Bobby, I'm not sure how much longer we can call him the kid. He turned 21 this week, the birthday boy.
And he's not sneaking up on anyone. You are taking a look right now at Whit Basemore's car, and this car was in the wind tunnel earlier this week, and maybe that helped him to become the #1 qualifier here this weekend in Funny Car at Heartland Park. And Whit Basemore, #1 qualifier, obviously you have to be proud of that. How much did the wind tunnel testing help?
Well, it helped earlier in the year a lot, of course, when Chevrolet and Camaro developed this car in answer to Force's Mustang. And but this past week, we were just comparing some things with the other Camaro body that we have, and really didn't develop that much new for the car. So, but it's a good car, and it's wind tunnel developed, and but it's great to pick Tony in John's pocket the last run. You know, that was fun. So we're excited for Team Kendall and Camaro to be low.
Last couple of races, you guys have had some problems dropping cylinders. What's going on there, and is that all corrected for this weekend?
Well, we've been struggling, no doubt, since you know, we were hot this summer, and Indy and Maple Grove we struggled. Came here, we struggled here. I mean, the first run we dropped some cylinders down track and ran an 09. Then we smoked the tires and shook, and the team, I tell you, the team stayed focused, and you know, you give Tim and Kim enough runs, and they're going to be on top. And this today proved it, I believe. And the car's running awfully well. And today's a new day. I mean, I think it's getting colder here by the minute, but I think we're prepared to have a good day, and we've got to make it happen if we're to catch Tony for #2 in the points.
All right, let's go over and talk with Tim Richards, who is right now kneeling down over here, doing a little bit of work on Whit's Funny Car. And Tim, we'll do a little sneak attack on you here. How much did the wind tunnel testing help you guys, and what do you expect from today's racing?
Well, what to expect from today is really tough. This track is very, very difficult. It allows a real fast run, or it allows a pedal run. There doesn't seem to be any in between. You either hit it right on, or you're in trouble.
And of course, Eli, they're hoping that they will hit it right on, just like they did in qualifying.
Everybody has those same hopes, Bobby Gerald, but to do so, you're going to have to figure out the riddle of Heartland Park, Topeka, Kansas, and figure out the riddle of an unseasonably cold, not cool, it's downright cold. More folks dressed up as though they were going to go see the Kansas Jayhawks or Kansas State's Wildcats or the Kansas City Chiefs. You feel like you're at a football game. Temperature right now in the low 40s. The wind chill makes it feel as though it is colder than freezing, and it's been raining. It's just a nasty day here in Topeka, Kansas. Hi, everybody. I'm Eli Gold. Welcome to Speed Vision's coverage from the heartland of American motorsports. We are at Heartland Park in Topeka. This racetrack, this quarter mile, has been known for some blazing speeds over the years, but it's also known for the extremes of temperatures. The National Hot Rod Association has run here over the years with temperatures over 100 degrees, and today it feels like you're in the 30s. But the bottom line is we've got great competition. When you take a look at Top Fuel, yes, we've talked about Scelzi, but 6 drivers still within 94 points of the lead.
Coverage of the 1999 NHRA Winston Championship is being brought to you by Advance Auto Parts. The best part is our people. And Mopar, parts for Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, and Jeep vehicles from the dealerships that sell and install them. That's the Mopar difference.
Welcome back, everybody. Heartland Park in Topeka, Kansas on a cold, nasty day, but nothing is nasty about the point battle in Top Fuel. 6 drivers within 94 points. And remember, you've got 20 points for a round of competition that you advance. So lots could change here today. The man who's now 8th in points, Larry Dixon with Steve Evans.
3 races ago, Brainerd, Minnesota. What fun we had with Don the Snake Perdome in the booth with Eli, expert commentator, watching his own Miller Lite car with Larry Dixon win the race. And Snake, I got to tell you, I hate to tell you, you got some fan mail, man. They liked your stuff.
Well, I had a good time doing the show with Eli. We're old buddies, and it was fun working with him. But, you know, I really enjoyed it myself because I tried to get into it and show the fans what it's all about, and I found myself getting real excited about it. So I can't wait to do it again.
Well, how about today, an encore performance?
Yeah, they got me up there. I'll be up there shortly, and just put on my coat and tie, and I'll be ready. And, you know, couldn't be at a better track. Topeka, Kansas. Going to see some great racing.
Well, another guy who better be ready is Larry Dixon. Larry, you need to throw some touchdowns if you're going to stay in this points thing today.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's kind of, we got to have a win situation here.
Okay, Bobby Gerald, confidence?
Yesterday, Kenny Bernstein hosted a special event for his race fans. He allowed his race fans to come over into a special tent where they received all kinds of Budweiser goodies, and they got to hear Kenny personally speak to them, tell them a couple stories, and have a little question and answer session, which we snuck in on and thoroughly enjoyed, I must say, yesterday. One of the funniest moments occurred when a fan asked Kenny Bernstein the simple question, now, I know you speed out there on the racetrack, but have you ever gotten a speeding ticket?
Yeah, he did, and I kind of chuckled and said, man, how many you want to count that high? But I had a story for him that was the best of all, is that my buddy Joe Amato back in Rockingham one day was going back to the airport, and he was speeding, running a little bit over 100 miles an hour, and the police officer stopped him out there, and Joe, you know, he's a good talker, so he jumps in and grabs his handout cards to go back to meet the officer and to kind of talk his way out of this ticket he's fixing to get, or to jail, one or the other. And he goes back in and he says, I'm Joe Amato, I drive that Valvoline dragster car. And that cop looked back at him, stepped back and looked at me and says, no, you don't. Mark Martin drives that car. Talking about the NASCAR guy. So
and of course the fans loved it, yeah.
And Joe was in trouble.
That was a lot of fun yesterday. Is that something you'd like to do more?
Well, it's the King's Court Club, and we had a blast with it. And it's a special ticket they can buy, as you said. They get a T-shirt and a hat, and I sign autographs and give a talk in a hospitality area for them. And we're doing it in Dallas, Texas, in 2 weeks there on Saturday and Friday night. They can call Dallas, the track there, and still get some tickets for that. And we're going to look at it then and probably do it several times next year. But it's just been really wonderful. It's a special T-shirt that the people get, and it's been a lot of fun.
Congratulations on a good day yesterday, and have fun today.
I hope so, if it doesn't get us too cold out here.
Steve?
Bobby, there is always a huge crowd around Eddie the Thrill Hill. But today it's special because Eddie, for the first time in over 2 years, is on the pole in Top Fuel with the ride of his very long life. 452, 323 miles an hour. Wow, Tex.
Oh, it just felt absolutely wonderful, and it feels especially good, kind of bittersweet in a way, because so far we hadn't been able to get enough sponsorship to come back next year. We're still trying, you know, but if this does wind up being our last time, it makes the #1 qualifier especially sweet, and sure make it great if we could win this deal.
And that's been your problem. Qualifying, you've done easily all year long. It's that first and second round.
Yeah, it seems like somebody will pull out a career best against us, you know, or whatever. We'll smoke the tires for no apparent reason or something like that. I hope our luck's a little better today.
We're riding with you.
Thank you, sir. I am looking forward to a good day. I hope it goes that way.
He will race the Aussie, David Grubnick, round #1. What about the other pairings, Eli?
Well, why don't we take a look, Steve, and see what we're all looking at here in the first round of Top Fuel Eliminator. Some interesting matchups right there. Can Doug Herbert finally get himself past the first round? It's been a while since he's been able to. The Schumacher and Head combination, numbers 5 and 12. That'll be interesting to see. And on the other side of the ladder, of course, Scelzi, you know the story. We've documented it already. Joe Amato's here. The Bernstein-Dixon matchup. That, too, will be one to watch. Meanwhile, over in the funny car pit area, Del Worsham's bunch is busy. It's been a hugely busy week for them already. We'll tell you more when we come back.
It's all about the championship, these drivers, and the closest points chase in NHRA history. Kenny Bernstein, Joe Amato, and Gary Scelzi share the combined experience of 7 NHRA Winston championships. Fighting for their first title are Mike Dunn and Larry Dixon, while Tony Schumacher and Doug Coletta drive for the Top Fuel crown. The AutoZone Nationals, presented by Pennzoil, October 7th through the 10th, Memphis Motorsports Park. It's a historic race to #1.
Huddled against the cold, Temperatures now with the wind chill making it feel as though we're lower than 30 degrees here at Heartland Park in Topeka, Kansas. But Corey McLenithan is keeping warm, busy in the pits. His team's been in the news this week. Steve?
Talk about frustration. Corey McLenithan has finished second in the Winston Points Chase in Top Fuel 4 different years. And this year you were struggling a bit, but you got to Indy, the big one, Labor Day. You win it. You go to Maple Grove, back in the thick of things, and you lose it. Round 1.
Yeah, to Tony Schumacher, and he's leading the points right now by 100. So that was a tough one for us. But good thing is we're sitting number 7, 7 rounds out of first, 4 races to go, and actually anybody in the top 10 can end up winning this championship.
And this is a racetrack that'll take just about anything you can throw at it.
That's exactly it. In this camp, we're going to throw the trailer at it and see what we come up with.
And what an early fall Joe Gibbs had, the team owner. Corey wins Indian Top Fuel. Tony Stewart wins the Winston Cup race at Richmond. And then Tommy Johnson Jr., who came in mid-season, picks up his first win in the Interstate Batteries car. Maple Grove, what a thrill.
It was great. You know, all the guys at Joe Gibbs Racing were winning except for me. So we wanted to get the our half of the job done. We did through at Maple Grove. Real good race.
So you're totally comfortable now?
Yeah, I am. It all came together. It seemed like a one race. You know, the car ran well with Indy, and I messed up a little bit. When I would do good, we'd drop a cylinder or something, and everything came together at Maple Grove.
All right, more nitro. Eli?
Gotta love it. Tommy's a good fella right there. Take a look at the funny car points right now as we begin action here today at Heartland Park in Topeka, Kansas. Clearly 280 points of the margin. Force over Tony Pedregon. It's all pretty much wrapped up, but a lot of guys still battling for their own bragging rights. Look how tight Wilkerson and Lee and Epler. A lot of dollars on the line. Back to the pitch, Bobby Gerald.
For Dale Worsham, it's been a big year, and when he's good, he's really good. He beat John Force at Seattle. He beat John Force in the Big Bud Shootout, but then in the last couple of weeks, problems with qualifying, 15th and 16th respectively, and so you're kind of up here, sometimes a little bit down here. What's happening with the consistency?
I'll tell you what, that's just drag racing, but we've had some problems with some parts. You know, we're having some push rod problems. We've struggled in qualifying through that. Once we get through that, I'm sure we're going to be back up at the top of the list.
And you've done so well, though, that you've gotten some more backing for 2000. Tell us about it.
Yeah, absolutely. For the year 2000, we're in a 2-car team, similar to what John Force does. Both of them out of our camp. Frank Pedregon Jr. will be the driver. Dave Fletcher will be the crew chief.
How exciting is this time for you?
It's absolutely unbelievable. You know, to go ahead and get the opportunity to do this is beyond my wildest dreams, and we're just going to go out and do the best job we can.
He's got a huge smile, Steve.
John Force is the most goal-oriented person you will ever meet, and he usually has 3 or 4 goals all going at the same time. But the big one is now achievable, to be the winningest drag racer of all time, regardless of class.
Well, the record's out there. I'm going after Glidden's. A great guy, did a great job for Ford. I always have to set goals, and I set them for my team, which projects where we're going in the future. We'd like to get there before Warren Johnson, bottom line.
You're tied with Warren at 78. You need 86 to do it.
Yeah, we've really been struggling ever since, you know, we come out of Indy. We just can't seem to get past first round. Knocked out at Maple Grove. Team's really focused. Austin's guaranteed me at a track like Topeka, we can flex our muscles, but we're definitely focused.
Eli?
Well, he's always focused, John Force is. Take a look at the pairings here in the first round of Funny Car Eliminator at Heartland Park in Topeka. Some new names, some interesting names. Johnson and Cannon, that'll be one to watch. On the other side of the ladder, pick your favorite. John Force and a guy named Caps squaring off. Ron and John going there in the first round. Del Worsham and Corey Lee. As the fans are waiting, we've had some rain here this morning. Surprised it wasn't snow, as cold as it's been. The Snake has joined us, made the trek from the pits. This is, we've documented well, where it feels like it's in the 30s, low 30s right now. Yeah. What does that mean, Don Prudhomme, to these guys trying to go the quarter mile?
It means that everything, and I mean everything, they did during qualifying, they just throw it right out. Today's a new day. It's cold as heck. Traction is going to be very, very important. We're just going to have to see.
When you go out there and make changes, how many adjustments can you make for temperatures like this? I mean, we've lost 35, 40 degrees since the teams checked in here on Thursday.
Well, there's several changes. One is head gaskets. They need to lower the compression, take some nitro out of the cars. But most importantly is the track is still tight. That's, you know, it's tight on the starting line, so they're still going to need power to get it off the starting line. The trouble is going to be at this end. Watch the big end of the track.
So a lot of folks here on hand of all ages looking on to see what's going to happen here at Heartland Park in Topeka, Kansas. Down in the pits, an aspiring Don Prudhomme. They're coming right back. Welcome back, everybody. Heartland Park in Topeka. The Jets serve two purposes. Obviously, if it were raining, it would be drying the racetrack. But Don Prudhomme, right now, it's not wet. We had a little rain shower early, but they're trying to get some heat into this quarter mile.
You bet they are. And actually, it'd be nice if we could hook that jet on the front of these cars to heat the track up as they go down, because I got to tell you, this is probably one of the most difficult situations that I have ever seen. To get these cars down the quarter mile today is going to be it's going to be a driver's job, pedaling them, getting them down through there.
Doug Herbert says it's never this cold in Cherryville, North Carolina. And Corey McClenathan said, you think you got it bad? I'm from Anaheim, California. We don't ever get this kind of weather. But they're waiting. They're next in line. And, folks, you'll have to excuse us, but we've taken those suit jackets and tossed them and found something a whole lot warmer. Don Prudhomme, I'm Eli Gold. Let's talk about how the wind will buffet these machines. You really have to drive them in any event. How about this crosswind that's going along with all the chill?
Well, the cars are going so fast, Eli, that the wind, I don't think, is a big deal. The big deal is the temperature of the track. It's so cold till the cars, they want to get a good grip because it's tight, but once again, to control it going down through there. So today, it's crew chief and driver pedaling the car, getting it down through there. I'm afraid today we're going to see a lot of engines tore up, but you also might see some good runs laid down. Guys like Eddie Hill, that's really good in conditions like this. Bernstein's good, and we got to race him first round.
Exactly.
You know, Joe Amato. So it's going to be interesting first round.
Heartland Park has always had some interesting storylines about it, Bobby Gerald. I don't believe today is going to be any different.
No, I don't think it will. Here's Rick Stewart, who is the chief starter for the NHRA, and Rick, I've got to ask you, I know you've seen it all. You've been here when it was over 100 degrees, but how many days do you remember that were this cold?
It's been a long time since we've run under this kind of track temperature. And what happens is, of course, when the track gets too hot, the adhesion goes away. When it gets too cold, the same thing happens. What's going on behind us right now is we're running our jets on the track, warming up the track temperature. And we get it up to about 70 degrees, we'll be okay. You might have to see us stop running the race for a little bit and bring the jets back out to keep the track temperature at a safe level, and that's what you'll see off and on today. Hopefully the sun will come out and we won't have to run the jets anymore.
I almost didn't recognize you yesterday. You had the ball cap on instead of the familiar cap here.
Well, the wind was blowing yesterday. Hold on for a second.
The jet going by?
The wind was blowing yesterday and the sun wasn't out. I've got this as a sun hat to protect my big old ears from the sun. So I put the solid hat back on, keep the wind from blowing through and getting on my bald head. So it made me feel a lot better with that red ball cap on.
Try to stay warm.
All right, we sure will. Thank you.
Steve?
Oh, it's really cold down here. You know, normally I don't envy the members of the safety safari that have to wear these heavy protective suits. Give me that suit! And what we're concerned with, I think, more than anything else is when it gets real cold like this, lubricants start to thicken up and you risk sharing an oil pump shaft or a fuel pump shaft. Even this camera is affected. The grease on the zoom lens has thickened up and it doesn't zoom as quickly or as smoothly as it really should. But let's remember, a year ago in a rainout situation, we came back here and ran at, I want that suit, ran at 1:30 in the morning. The track temperature was only 45 degrees and it was still good. I don't think any other racetrack could make that statement, Eli.
What's the deal, Don Prudhomme? What separates a quarter mile such as Heartland Park, as Steve was alluding, to other facilities?
Well, for one thing, it's a very good track. You know, we first heard about them building this track at Topeka, Kansas. Says, are you crazy? But I got to tell you, it's the nicest facility probably in the country. I mean, around. I mean, we love running here. But the problem still remains is the temperature. And as Steve talked to you, yeah, it's good. And it's going to be good off the starting line. And it should be good ways down the track. But as they get towards the big end, it's loose, to be honest with you. And we had trouble the other day, and I think a little later on in the show we're going to explain some of that.
Definitely so. We'll be talking about that as our afternoon continues. And of course, this is just the start of 4 hours of coverage for you today as we are here at Heartland Park, Topeka with the 11th annual Advance Auto Parts NHRA Nationals. 2 hours on Speed Vision, then later on 2 hours on Fox. We've got lots coming your way, and we're certainly glad you're with us. A hearty bunch of fans. Let's see, is Auntie M out there somewhere? Toto?
The Lost Drive-In brings you two gracious competitors. He's the most selfish bastard on two wheels.
With the same goal.
The great god Speed.
You'll love both endings of Silver Dream Racer this Saturday at 11 p.m. Eastern.
Welcome back, everybody. The track warming continues. They're not drying the track. They're trying to warm it up. Eli Gold, Don Prudhomme, Steve Evans, Bobby Gerald. Hey, Snake, when Rick Stewart talked before about going out there, warming the racetrack, how long will that kind of heat stay in the asphalt or the concrete against this terrible cold? I mean, it can't do much.
Well, take your hair dryer out and warm the ground. See how long that lasts. I hate to say it about Rick here, but I don't think he's exactly right. I don't think that's going to last long at all. I think once these cars fire up and they do a burnout and they come back, I think that temperature is going to still drop in the concrete out there. So I still think we're going to have a difficult situation, but it's going to be an interesting one. Who's got the best setup to get down through there?
Let's go back downstairs and visit with the guys. Bobby Gerald.
Eli, we're down here with the #1 Top Fuel qualifier, Eddie Hill. And Eddie, we're down here braving the cold, and you're kind of waiting around. What does the wait do for you?
Oh, I don't mind the wait that much. I'm anxious to get on with it, but we're used to delays.
And how does the cold affect you specifically? What's your biggest concern?
Well, we don't have that much practice running in these kind of conditions. We did a little bit at Pomona. We ran 452, 453 out there and 452 here under similar conditions. So maybe we'll run a little quicker. I hope it goes that way.
All right, well, we saw Eddie Hill in the finals at Brainerd where he was a runner-up. He's hoping to get that far, maybe one step further today, Steve.
Well, Bobby, I'm sure you can feel it as well. Maybe you're in the lee of that big tower, but the wind has picked up and is blowing almost directly down the racetrack. And I mean, I lived outside of Rochester, New York for 6 years. I wasn't this cold. Jerry Grice with the Safety Safari. How does the cold affect the job that you guys have to do today?
Well, it makes it a lot more difficult for us to clean up oil and everything. We're working with a 50-weight oil to start with. And when it comes out of a hot motor and hits temperatures like this, it almost turns to a jelly, and it's just almost impossible to get up off of the track.
If we did not have that jet out there, we might not be racing today.
We wouldn't be racing. That jet, I mean, it's brought along racing to where it is today, and without it, we'd be sitting here and standing around the fire trying to wait on something to happen.
How much would you take for that suit?
It's not for sale today. We've even suited up for a super suit.
Oh, Steve, just wheeling and dealing. Don, what was the coldest that you have run in? And I don't mean necessarily temperature-wise, though you may know what the thermometer reading was. And how cold was the coldest day you competed in?
Well, I don't ever recall running this cold. Matter of fact, if we pulled into a track or to test and it was just cold, we just leave the cars in the trailer. We simply wouldn't do it.
Really?
Yeah. This is something I've never seen. I've been in this business a long time, but you know, to get traction out here once again is going to be tough. But these guys, though, they're sharp, you know, and now we're getting into first round, and this is gonna be really interesting. Doug Herbert, though, has been making some real consistent runs, and his car's pretty well set up. He's one of the guys that's going to be tough.
Well, let's all find out together. We're glad you're with us, and they're going to start them up and see what happens. Corey McLenithan right there in the MB&A dragster. You saw Doug Herbert across the way. If you weren't here early in the weekend, you know that there was a change on that team right there. Rick Cassell, the crew chief, resigning Friday, and the veteran tuner, Jim Brissett, takes over. And he has to take over in a day like today. What does he tell his driver? What do they tell Herbert? Can you take extra long to warm these machines up?
Yeah, that's right, Eli. When they did the burnouts, they're a little longer than normal. They're trying to get some good cylinder temperature in the engines. The one thing that's so important is that nitromethane. When it's firing there and the mouth is coming there, you better have the temperature to set it off. Get it running. Keep the combustion chambers nice and hot. That's going to be the trick today.
Doug Herbert, you're looking at him right there. He has lost the first round in the last 7 events. That is since his win at Columbus. And he's dropped from 2nd to 10th in points. He just cannot get by. I don't know if they were messing with his staging procedure or exactly what it was, but the wheels have come off the buggy.
Yeah, but he's getting back on track now. But Corey McLennan in the MB&A car, he's tough. He's a real good lever. And Doug Herbert knows it. But once again, all the crew chiefs now are watching for this first run, including their crew chiefs, of course. But the guys in the back, they're seeing what's going on, how the track's going to hold, see what kind of adjustments we need to make. But here it goes. This is going to tell you something.
We'll all find out together. Doug Herbert for Snap-on, Corey Mack for MBNA. First round, first pair. Glad you're with us on Speed Vision. Well, it wasn't pretty, but it gets the job done at a 4.63 for Doug Herbert. Though we talk about him not getting by the first round, and he does just that. He gets by 304.6 miles an hour.
Great round.
So we'll get the postmortems on round number 1, pair number 1. More coming up right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Darrell Quinn's dragster, Mike Dunn at the controls. And Andrew Cowan across the way from him, a man who has made a big name for himself already this year by virtue of a spectacular effort in Indianapolis.
Absolutely. Hey, that 463 by Doug Herbert.
That was something in these conditions.
Yeah, it surprised me. But you know what? I think we're in for a pretty good day now.
Steve Evans, what's Doug got to say?
Doug is smiling because that is his quickest run of the entire weekend.
Oh, good. I'll tell you what, Larry, I can't say enough about Larry Frazier and all my Snap-on guys. We're just having fun. We did a little tune-up last week at Rockingham, and we're just happy to be here. Happy to talk to you at the end of the track, too.
It's been a while. You got to get past first round to talk to the Evans.
Doug Herbert will move on. But here's the matchup. Mike Dunn to the near side, Andrew Cowan across the way.
Yeah, and Dunn's been our, points leader all year and just kind of stepped out of it, had a few mess-ups, problems, so on, engines exploded, so he fell back to the points a little bit, but he still has a good shot for the championship. Now, he's a good peddler. This kid's good. If we have a problem here and the tires get loose, I always look for him to pull it out.
Dunn led the points from Pomona to Indianapolis, but he's now fourth, 55 points down. Watch for the green light. My goodness.
Great run.
Great run for Dunn at a 461 at 307. So these guys are mastering the cold conditions.
And the engine explosion in the other range. You notice that? The injector setting sideways on the car. It popped back because the air conditions, they weren't tuned up for it. They had a problem. Watch this. Here we go. Leaving, everything's fine. Dunn's wheels, look at him carry the front end down, and he's off. The other car's smoking the tires, in trouble back there. Bingo, blew it up. Dunn's on a great run. Hey, I'm really surprised at the traction's the other end. 461, that's the best run he's made of the weekend.
Little bit of a wheel stand, and they come right back down.
You couldn't ask for a prettier run than that.
The weight transfer, and look at Cowan just exploding in that other lane.
You see it going through the changes there with that front end popping, the clutch is coming in, working the car, and it's really set back.
You can smile. You won. Bobby?
Here's Ken Veeney, and Ken Snake just said that was the prettiest run you guys have had all weekend.
All right, we've been, some people call it experimenting. We kind of call it struggling. But we put it back to the way we figured to run, about a 63 or somewhere around here. That's what we were trying to run. So it did about what we expected.
And they are moving on.
They are moving on as the Dunn team will face the winner of Scelzi and Park coming up a little bit later on here at Heartland Park in Topeka, Kansas. Steve Evans at the far end.
Well, Mike Dunn is thrilled with that 461 and even prouder of the 20 Winston points that go along with the win light.
I'll tell you, we take all the points we can get. Andrew Cal and that team do a great job. Obviously, that 58 in qualifying. The track surprised us really good. Actually, wheel stood, picked the front end up, carried it pretty high. I had to grab the brake to bring it down, and probably hurt a little ET. We weren't trying to run that quick. Obviously, with grabbing the brake, probably would have ran a high 50, but we'll take it. That's a good win for this team, Obar.
We were a little concerned about the big end of the racetrack, spinning the tires at the top end. What about it?
We got a little bit of spin down there, but we're more concerned with getting it off the starting line. We felt if it go off the starting line, we'd be all right because, you know, a lot of cars have been shaking, but we just kind of planned on giving a break anyway. And then with the front end in the air, it just kind of made it automatic. And the starting line was excellent. I mean, picked the front end up like that. It did get a little bit loose. I was a little bit out of the groove, though. That might have something to do with it. And it seems like here, especially in the right lane, if you get out of the groove, it gets a little loose.
Mike Dunn, nobody masters that technique of using the brake better than Mike.
He's a good one. He had lost 4 of the last 7 first rounds, but he advances here today. But now we've got a good bit of track cleanup. But he pretty well mimics what you were saying, Snake, about the conditions today.
Yeah, be honest, it's very surprising, but you know, as Dunn, he's talking about grabbing the brake. He is an expert at that. He's really good. And it's trying to carry the front end. He can tap the brake, reach over there and grab a little bit. But it was a great run. Once again, I think it surprised him. Look at that. Ooh, that you don't want to get any higher than that. It's called a blowover, folks.
Exactly.
When you get it up too high. And of course, Cowling's in the other lane. That was a shame. It's a lot of damage over there. And but Dunn needed that round.
One of 11 guys to win in both Top Fuel and Funny Car. Which is tougher?
Oh boy, that's hard. That's hard to say.
Is Funny Car more handling? Is it tougher to drive?
It's more tougher to drive because you got to toss the car around. It's a heavy car. Throw it around. It's a little bit tough.
Lots of cleanup going on, as you can imagine. Oh, and look what's going on there. Kenny Bernstein and Joe Amato, they're going to swap lanes right here. You've got lane choice until you get in there and start cranking them up.
Yeah, that's Kenny Bernstein in my car with Larry Dixon, the Miller car. So we're going to have a tough round here. Bernstein is quite good, obviously, and his team is good. They've been running a little bit more consistent than we have. They put Larry, because of choice of lanes, Bernstein qualifying quicker than we did.
Right.
They're going to put us over in the left lane where the oil down was. But NHRA, Track Safari, they do a great job cleaning up. We'll race them in that lane, no problem.
Bernstein, number 6 to number 11, Dixon. What does that do to you? If nothing else, so much of this business is up here. It's psychological. What does Larry think now when he says, uh-oh, Bernstein's going to pile it on me now?
Well, you know, it's when he goes up there each and every time, he's got to think about leaving right and getting on the light. And that's his main thing. His job is getting off the start line. He's been doing a great job with that. So it's going to be a good race.
This team of yours, both sides, Ron Capps and Dixon, we have seen them struggle at times, succeed at times, but over the last handful of weeks, actually dating back to Brainerd when you and I last sat together in Minnesota, looks like the team has kind of turned the corner now and is set in for the final run and looking ahead to the year 2000.
Yeah, we really are. And in doing that, too, we brought Dick LaHaye on for the Top Fuel car, and Dale Armstrong's going to run the Funny car now.
Right.
And so they're just getting started now. We're really, to be honest with you, to win the championship right now is really not in the question. So we're trying to get started for next year, and I think that's really the thing to do. And I'm really happy with the way things are coming out.
Track cleanup is continuing behind us. The drivers are trying to stay warm, as is everybody else. Hope you're nice and warm where you are. We're coming right back. More from Topeka in a moment.
Coverage of the 1999 NHRA Winston Championship is being brought to you by the new Motel 6. Now renovated nationwide and still the best price of any national chain. And X1R Performance Lubricants. Run with the best.
Welcome back, everybody. As the track warm-up continues here, they've also cleaned up just a little bit, but everybody just waiting. It looks as though it may be a bit of a lengthy day, although your guys climbing on board. Larry Dixon says time to get settled in. He and Kenny Bernstein going to be the next pair, Don Prudo. Let's talk again about what goes on a particularly cold day such as this. 70 weight oil. I mean, it's got to be like scooping up petroleum jelly out there.
Well, it really is, and that's the biggest problem with oil downs, as they alluded to earlier in the show. You know, for the safety safari to get that heavy oil off. But, you know, obviously when it's warm out, it's a lot easier to clean up with the grease sweep and so on. So it's just going to take a little bit longer time. But so far they're doing a great job. I'm pleasantly surprised how much, you know, how good the track was. And those, maybe I was a little bit wrong about that air dryer I mentioned before, because that jet's doing a good job keeping that track warm.
And so far, a 461 and a 463 are the winning ETs. And there's the king, Kenny Bernstein. Bobby, he's taking his time getting ready.
Yeah, he is, as is everybody down here. It's just a little bit of a waiting game. We're standing by with Lee Beard, who calls the shots for Kenny Bernstein. And Lee, you guys made a kind of a last-minute lane change there after the big blow-up.
Well, there were two factors involved. Number one, Mike Dunn just ran 461 over in this right-hand lane, so that shows us that the lane will hold a pretty good number. Number two is Andrew Cowan's car blew up the engine and put a tremendous amount of oil down in that left-hand lane. Usually the Safety Safari does a fantastic job of picking up that oil, but out here in this 46, 48 degree weather, it's probably going to be a little harder to get it off the track. So that's what made our decision.
So not taking any chances. Now the 461, 463, the winning ETs we've seen so far. Does that surprise you a little bit that it's been that good?
Well, it surprises me that the cars are actually going down the track at all. These cold conditions like that, it's difficult.
It's making it tough for everybody down here, Eli.
It is. And remember, folks, 46 degrees, but with 15-mile-an-hour winds steadily and gusts to 21, the wind chill factor, and hence the ambient temperature on the racetrack is right down around the 30-degree mark. So don't let that 46-degree number fool you. Here's why we're down for the time being. Look at the far lane, Andrew Cowan. Wasn't pretty.
Wasn't pretty in a lot of oil.
Meanwhile, on the near lane, Dunn, little wheel stand, pops her right back down.
And that's that run Lee Beard was talking about just a little bit ago. He was watching that, of course, and he has lane choice. So they're going to go right down in Mike Dunn's tracks. And unfortunately, Larry's going to be over in the other lane. Yeah. But, you know, once again, they do a great job cleaning this track up. We still stand a good shot at it.
Steve, that looks like a job for you riding along with the jet dryer. That seat looks like it's tailor-made for you.
Where do I sign? I'm going to talk about something besides the cold, and that is the tremendous strides in safety that NHRA has made over the past couple of years. Topeka Park here is typical of that. Nowhere in this mile-long track, counting the shutdown area, is there any kind of a blunt end for an out-of-control car to hit. Now, this used to be an open turnoff, okay? No longer. Look at this huge steel girder gate. And it remains closed at all times unless there's a car that needs to take this short turnoff. All the way down to the end, you'll see there's no openings. The walls have been raised about 18 inches to contain these cars, so that if you do have a problem, you're almost always going to hit a glancing blow, never hit anything head on. And it's paid huge dividends, and these are the standards every NHRA track must live up to.
That's the bottom line. They have taken the driver's safety as the number one, and obviously the folks here, track president Phil Kentling and all the rest, they are conforming. But this is a class facility. NASCAR road races are run here. It truly is the heartland of American motorsports. Heartland Park, Topeka. We've been here when it's 100 degrees. We're here today when it's 30, but the action's going to heat up. Welcome back, everybody. Heartland Park in Topeka, Kansas. You expect to see the Kansas City Chiefs come trotting out here any second. Arrowhead Stadium not far away in Kansas City, Missouri. But, Bobby, we're here to see a race if and when the track can be warmed up and cleaned up.
And I think we're getting really close to that point right now, Eli. And we're down here with Dick LaHaye, who has taken over now as the main man, calling the shots for Larry Dixon for Don Prudhomme's Snake Racing team. And, Dick, so far, what do you think of the operation here, and how has the transition been?
Well, you know, it's a heck of an opportunity for me, and the transition's going pretty smoothly, really. I just need to get used to working with the equipment that we've got here until we can get through the season and get all the stuff that I need to do to make the team come to fall together and see what happens there.
Let's talk about this upcoming matchup here with Kenny Bernstein. Last-minute lane change there on you. What does that do for you guys?
Well, you know, NHRA will prepare the track very well. I'm really not concerned about the lane. We've all got to race under the same conditions, and we should be okay.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Eli?
I think one of the most remarkable stories right there is that Dick LaHaye had not a hair out of place on this blustery day. Got some of that 70-weight oil keeping that baby in place.
Yeah, this temperature stays in place.
It really does. Welcome back, everybody. Eli Gold, Don the Snake Prudhomme, and you see behind us the hearty fans here at Heartland Park in Topeka, Kansas. We have seen two passes thus far. If you're just joining us, Doug Herbert and Mike Dunn having advanced in first round of Top Fuel Eliminator, but the fans are just waiting patiently, but chilled, no doubt, to the bone. But we do hear music in the background, at least music to our ears. Little nitromethane and alcohol starting to mix.
That's the sound everybody came for, too. There's nothing like two Top Fuel dragsters starting up on the starting line. The pounding, the nitro flying out of the pipes. Fans get plenty excited, and I get plenty excited.
Larry Dixon, your driver. with the new crew chief basically mid-season, we had talked at Brainerd. You had just hired Dick LaHaye, and he wasn't going to come over till the season was over. But then Doug Herbert opted to make the change and let him go. Watching Kenny Bernstein, and now Dixon in the battle of the breweries. How tough to bring a Dick LaHaye or anybody in with a handful of races remaining in a season like this?
Well, it really wasn't that tough. It wasn't a tough decision at all because, you know, the points really don't look good for us right now, as I talked about before. And we just want to get started. He wanted to get used to working with the team, and he has a setup of his own. But unfortunately, you know, we don't have all those parts. But let me tell you, the parts we have in there around a 448 is still the world's quickest top fuel dragster. So he's not working on too bad of a car here right now.
4.486, Houston, 1999. Folks still talking about that pass not that many months ago.
Yeah, and we could sure use it right now, I can tell you. But I feel good about it. You know, it's anytime you go to the start line to race, man, you never know what happens. That's why I've never bet on a drag race.
You know what I'm amazed to see? You may have to chisel a few icicles off of these people, but look at the grandstands, folks, from Kenny Bernstein's view. On the right, on the left, I mean, you know, I'm looking around behind me. There are scant few empty seats. It's remarkable.
Absolutely. Here we go.
Watch for that green light. You'll see it go either to Bernstein or Dixon. You'll know who gets the reaction time battle. Give the numbers right there to Kenny Bernstein at a 472, 320 miles an hour to the 467 for your guy, Larry Dixon.
Yeah, it was a great race. Unfortunately, Larry's a little bit late.
Let's go to Bobby.
472, Lee, what do you think?
Well, it shook quite a bit there leaving, and Kenny got on and off the throttle, did an excellent job of driving it, but then that horsepower running 320 miles an hour down there at the other end run that Miller car down. So we're excited about it going in the second round.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And Snake, a .467 reaction time for Bernstein to a .570. You can even see it with the naked eye.
Yeah, you sure can. It just something must have thrown him off there. But it's very difficult. You know, the car's performing well. They had a good setup on it, but you know, it just didn't come to be. And of course, as Lee talked about, that 320 mile an hour wasn't too bad there.
See a few raindrops there on our camera lens. A little spray in the area, but not enough. Look at them just skating on that quarter mile.
Well, it's loose down there, and they're moving around pretty good. But Bernstein made a nice run. It was his race.
So the Bud crew advances to race another round. Doug Coletta, Paul Romine next. Burnouts underway for Doug Coletta and Paul Romine as we welcome you back to Heartland Park in Topeka, Kansas. Let's go to Steve Evans.
The winning margin, 62 thousandths of a second, and a big top-end charge. You're going to like that, 320.
Yeah, I really hooked up. I had to even pedal it out there. It shook pretty hard. I pedaled it, and then it really took off. I just couldn't believe it. It's so suspect up there in this kind of conditions. You just do the best you can. Now we got a little something to work with. Hopefully we can figure it out for the day as it goes on.
Great reaction time, 4.7 lead.
That'll win you some drag races. Paul Romine from Indianapolis, Indiana. What's going on there, Snake? Something's wrong.
They seem to have a little trouble getting it out of reverse, but look like everything's okay right now. Sometimes that happens. The clutch pack will swell up on a run. You do your burnout, but it gets hot, and you don't have any looseness to it, let's say, and you can't get it out of reverse.
Coletta
that happens a lot.
And the Kitty Hawk machine. Paul Romine for CarQuest. Sorts of problems. Coletta gets the win line at a 4.80 at 293 miles an hour. Not the spectacular numbers we've seen from others, but he's going to move on, Bobby Gerald.
Here's the ace, and Ace, it didn't start off very well, but he got her down there.
Well, this is going to be a real challenge today because of the temperature, like everybody knows, but bottom line is get the other end first.
And that's exactly what he did. Congratulations.
Thanks.
So 480 at 293 miles an hour has had the Ace McCullough. He's given Coletta some good equipment here lately.
Boy, he has too, and that car is flying. I believe they ran a 53 earlier, and it's on a great run here right now. Ooh, look at the wheel stand. You notice that? See, I didn't pick that up.
I didn't see it the first time.
I didn't either. But these things can get away from you. You know, that means two things. Look at that. That means track is plenty good. To get the front end up like that, you can put some power to it.
Watch him take the lights out, bomb, right there, so his run was over regardless.
I think it surprised all of us how good the track was today.
Watch it again.
See, he pedaled it right there. He got back into it, clutch really hit. Now, you see that smoke coming out? Burnt pistons. Lots of them.
Burnt or not, Steve Evans, the Pistons got him down the quarter mile.
Yeah, and he got immediate attention from the safety safari as there was a bit of a fire and there was a lot of oil running out of this motor. It's hurt just a little bit anyway.
Yeah, I tell you, I was real happy to see you guys come walking up because it left, it shook a little bit, and I pedaled it, and fortunately we got the win on that one. So we'd press on and hope for the best from here on in.
A conservative approach, a 4.80.
Is that what it came out, Teds? Yeah. Get the wind light, and I'm sure the guys can get her tuned up a little better. We'll see.
He's a heck of a pilot and a heck of a race car driver. In fact, a USAC sprint car national champion.
Indeed, a very, very fine oval track standout, winning those sprints and midgets titles. There's David Grubnick. He's got the Montana Express set to go. He's had some good numbers over this weekend.
Yeah, it's a great team, but he's also got a heck of a guy to race here. And, you know, just like Brainerd, Minnesota, we were up there racing, and Eddie Hill's doing so well, and we were able to beat him in the final. But we were fortunate that day. It was a track. Track conditions were great for him, and conditions like this are good for Eddie Hill because he puts the power down.
What a strange business, though. Here's a guy, Eddie Hill, who lost round one in Reading, Pennsylvania to Tim Gibson. He comes here a week later, and he's the #1 qualifier. Yeah. But what makes a guy particularly good in strange conditions? I know in NASCAR, some guys run well on those slick tracks. Eddie Hill seems to handle whatever the weird stuff is that Mother Nature can throw at you. Why is that?
Well, for some reason, guys just get a setup like that. His car is good under cold conditions, you know, really tight tracks. Other cars want to shake, and just like you pointed out in NASCAR, some guys are good at short tracks, loose conditions. Eddie's got a setup here that's been flying lately.
Yeah.
Man, I've never seen him run so good and so consistent.
452 was the ET that got him #1 qualifying honors here at 323 miles an hour.
Yeah, and he's the oldest guy on the grounds, too. Maybe the oldest guy at the place. The facility.
Could be. 63 years of age, debuted in 1958. Eddie Hill with his burnout.
Still got that desire.
But the desire's well and good. If you can't do the job, though, desire's great, but you have to hang it up. Eddie can still get the job.
Yeah, he's still got it, exactly. Nothing like those burnouts, huh? But that Montana Express car's got it, too.
Yeah.
That Grubney, he's no slouch on the start line. And if there's any one little thing that I think Eddie Hill may lack on, it's that starting line. The consistency of being up at that starting line. As you saw before earlier, Bernstein's good at that.
Yeah.
And he's no spring chicken himself, and Eddie Hill's pretty good at it, too.
They're going to beat up on you when you're done today, you know.
Well, he beat us. I can't say anything nice about him, can I?
David Grubnick lost in 3 second-round appearances this year. There's Ursi Hill, Eddie's wife and longtime best friend, as he will be quick to tell you.
Yes, she is, and she's just as big a part of this team as Eddie is. She's a real supporter. And you notice one of the crewmen put their hand in the cockpit to show Eddie a device. That's the throttle stop. These cars got so much power, folks. When you go out there to do a burnout, if you put the pedal down, you blow the engine up. You got to have something to control it.
Watch again for that green light as they go to stage.
This is important. Light off. Second light.
Explosion, but Eddie gets to the finish at a 5:54, only 203 miles an hour. She's shut down, as you saw, just shy of the quarter mile.
He broke something serious.
But he'll have time to fix it and race again. Eddie Hill. Eddie Hill's Pennzoil machine had a lot of problems there near the finish. Bobby Gerald.
And Alan Johnson right now just getting ready to fire off Gary Scelzi as you get a good look at the eyes of Scelzi, and you have to wonder what is going through his mind right now after the 2 horrible accidents that he's had here. They've been through a lot to get this car together, Eli, and I still can't believe we're looking at him on the line.
It is a remarkable story, Don. Before you joined us, while you were still in the pits this morning, we already have shown the folks all the repairs and, of course, the accidents here both Friday night and Saturday. And I think Bobby hit on it. What is going through Alan Johnson's mind, Gary Scelzi's mind? I mean, it's got to be nerve-wracking if nothing else.
It sure is, but Gary Scelzi, I believe, has all the faith in the world in Alan Johnson. He feels as though when this car's on the racetrack, putting it back together, it's going to be fun.
Meanwhile, Steve's at the far end. Obviously a problem there at the far end. The microphone probably frizzed up on this chilly day.
Yeah, and this guy, you know, obviously is the story of the weekend right here, to crash the car, cut cars apart, put them all back together, and still get back in there.
And, of course, Alan Johnson, whom we're watching there, direct Scelzi back. It has not been a career for him devoid of sadness.
It has, and, you know, he's been through a lot, and obviously we all know in Indianapolis some years back, he lost his brother in a similar accident. So I hate reminding folks of that, but I know he thought of that. I know I thought of it when I watched that run, and thank God everything was okay. But watch and see, this car is still strong, and I hope they have that engine problem figured out.
Meanwhile, Randy Parks right there in the ride and decal Fluke dragster. He can come out and hurt you. Pretty, but he's going on to the next round.
How about that?
How about those overnight hours all paying off? It'll be a 561 at 282 miles an hour, but I think, Bobby, the numbers are insignificant as long as you win.
Absolutely insignificant. The win line came on, and that's all that Alan cares about.
Yeah, that was all we were worried about. I mean, the win light was really kind of insignificant, too. I mean, we just wanted to make sure it went to the other end without any problems, and it appears that it did that. A little tire smoke. We'll work on that. But the hardest 20 points I ever earned.
I hear that.
Every time you win a round, you get 20 valuable Winston bonus points. So Dunn will have lane choice over Scelzi, but Scelzi is on to the next round.
Yes, he is. And once again, let's give them a whole lot of credit. A lesser team would have just packed it up and gone home, but they want to win this championship, and they're staying at it.
And Joe Amato, that is the next matchup right here. And Smith, interesting. Everybody knows Amato.
Yes, and Amato's very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, he won the last race, and he's been on a roll lately. You know, he fell back here not too long ago in his performance, and things weren't going so right. Matter of fact, he's talking about retirement and so on. Yeah. When it's a race, all of a sudden I don't hear that retirement anymore because he's flying now.
Don't want to make too much of the psychological business, but Joe Amato was the guy who witnessed Gary Scelzi's horrific accident here yesterday. Does that at all go through Joe's mind, or the fact that he's been around since forever, he's beyond that?
Well, us racers seem to have a way of just putting that out of your mind when you get in that race car when you're up there. And I'm sure at a particular time, and I'm sure it weighs on him, and he thought about it because parts were flying over in his lane, and I'm sure he didn't know how Scelzi was. But, you know, Joe's a real focused guy. He's a real focused guy, and he's a great driver.
The winner at Phoenix, at Englishtown, New Jersey, at Vandermeer in Denver, in Seattle, and finally at his home track in Reading, Pennsylvania, last time out, Maple Grove. Against Mike Smith from Round Rock, Texas. Over in a hurry, but he just kept the pedal down. 468 at 322 miles an hour. The track is holding, and Joe knows it.
And he's applauding himself. He's very happy about that.
Steve Evans, you got a couple of winners. Amato's heading your way, and Scelzi's already there.
I tell you, Gary Scelzi, there is just no quit in this team.
No, absolutely not. You know, it went out there and it shook and it smoked the tire, and I tried to grab the brake, and I mean, I'm a little uncomfortable today. I mean, I've been through a lot, but you know what? We got a round win. We're going to be fine. Team Winston's going to go to the next round, and that's so important right now.
How are you physically?
I'm okay. I'm a little sore, but I'm 39 years old, Steve. I'm not a kid anymore.
On a trade?
Poor baby. Watch it right there.
Yeah, but he got it down through there, pedaling it, did a great job.
The man's a pro. He's a champion, and he advances to race again.
Woo!
That is Tony Schumacher, the 330-mile-an-hour guy, and that is Jim Head.
We don't have to tell you about Tony Schumacher.
No.
He holds happens to hold the national speed record at 30 miles an hour.
330.23 at Phoenix Firebird earlier this year, but has not picked up a win. He's lost all 8 finals he's been in. Not so for Joe Amato. He's a many-time winner, Steve.
Oh, yeah, it was Snoopy on his side. Joe, at 468, you pedaled it, huh?
Yeah, I had to pedal it. Went out a little bit, and it shook the tires loose. And, you know, just looking for a win like here. These are treacherous conditions. The race for a NHRA Winston World Championship under track conditions like this is like, it's like a crapshoot.
When Gary Scelzi got down here, it was Joe Amato first over to congratulate that team on just pulling it off, just being here.
Indeed so. It's been quite a weekend and a lot more yet to go. Meanwhile, Jim Head lost in round 3 to Dunn in Chicago, lost to Schumacher in Sonoma. He's lost the first round at Brainerd to Scott Coletta, lost at Reading in the first round to Vandergrift.
Yeah, then on the other hand, Schumacher's car is awfully strong. They laid down a fine 455 in qualifying the other day in track conditions similar to this.
Sometimes you're the windshield and sometimes you're the bug. It was heads to take and he blew up.
Absolutely, it was over. But the kid, you know, he could see that. He could see that happen. He got to have it pedaling and worked it all the way down the track to, you know, the wind light. Those were valuable points to him. And look at poor Head. What a shame.
669 at 213 miles an hour, obviously giving Doug Coletta lane choice later. But watch this. Schumacher's got problems. Head's got it to go.
Blew the tires right off it. The race is over, but look at boom. And oil, car's dead. Now Schumacher, on the other hand, quick thinking, gets out of the throttle, see what's going on, and nurses it down there. Nurses just like Jim Head could have got out of the car and walked across the finish line faster, I suspect. But unfortunately, that happened. But Schumacher needed that round. Good thinking, good job. He wins.
Schumacher, #1 in points. He had a 36 marker advantage coming into action this weekend. And that's why they run them. There are upsets in sport all the time.
That's right. You always need a break. They got one.
Bobby Gerald, a lot of surprised folks down there, I think.
Yeah, there are. And unfortunately for John Davis, that's a tough way to lose one.
Yeah, it sure is. It's been a long, cold weekend, and that's no way to end it.
Well, we're sorry to see you guys out of it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, the expression tells it all, huh?
It sure does, and there's nothing worse. You know,
I would think sometimes you'd rather just get beat flat out and lose it than have one in the bag and then go kaboom.
Well, yeah, that's right. But, you know, once again, we've talked about this a million times about drag racing. It's, I think that's what keeps us coming back, and people keep wanting to do it because you just never know. You know, you can be down and out and all of a sudden win a race. And look at the oil.
Look at that. And look at the numbers. Far lane winning 4, near lane winning 4. We had Cowan blowing up on one lane. Now you have Head dirtying up the other. I don't think either side is necessarily an advantage over the other. Clearly, statistically, it's not.
No, it won't. But when they're done with it, when the safety safari's done with it, it's going to be just great. But that's one of the problems that, you know, we're going to cure that one of these days. And I want folks to understand that we are going to cure this, you know, and we're really working hard on it. Get rid of some of this oil and oil downs and stuff. And you watch in the near future, you're not going to see this much.
All right, technically, how can that be done? Short of penalizing a guy, I mean, can that be, say, oil it down and you lose X number of points?
Well, we don't want to penalize anybody, but I believe we're going to have to make some changes to the engines, perhaps slow them down a little bit.
Got some interesting matchups. Look at that right there. Scelzi and Dunn, Amato and Bernstein. Those are some good matchups coming up in the second round of Top Fuel Eliminator.
I want to see Amato and Bernstein.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one. Bobby Gerald.
Oh, we're down here getting ready for the funny cars to get going, and Chuck Etchels is standing by, of course, car owner for Whit Bazemore, #1 qualifier here this week. And are you staying warm, man? You look colder than me.
I'm staying warm. I got the first round jitters for us, and that keeps you warm. But I'm from Connecticut, so this is just an early welcome to winter.
All right. Well, what do you think about your first round matchup?
Well, I think Whit's got to be ready with his right foot. I mean, like Force says, you might have to do a lot of dancing today. I think it's going to be that kind of race for the funny cars. It's going to be exciting.
Wish you good luck, Chuck.
Thanks a lot.
Steve.
Well, a lot of engine damage for Jim Head. And Jim, just when it looks like you're going to get a break, the other guy smokes the tires. Not good.
No, we've been on a very, very bad roll as far as our season's going, and it doesn't look like it's going to get better at Topeka, but I guess that's why they're going to have Memphis in 7 days.
These kinds of conditions, are they harder on engines than the usual?
To even start a nitromethane engine under these conditions is absurd. Just that simple. We don't have any database about running these race cars in these conditions, and so what's the point? Other than blowing up a bunch of stuff. And needless to say, my thoughts of Topeka, Kansas in October are not very nice right now.
Kind of upfront about it, I'd say.
A man of candor at all moments, Jim Head is.
Yes, he is, but we all can't go home.
Yeah.
We're here. We got to get the race in.
But watch it. It was Head on the left. Schumacher's up in smoke.
Boom.
Man. Seen a lot of that here this weekend in Topeka. Welcome back, everybody. Cleanup continuing after Jim Head and the Checkers, Shucks, and Cragen machine lost their bullet. A lot of cleanup here in the opening round. Eli Gold, Don the Snake Prudhomme, Bobby Gerald, Steve Evans, the entire crew on hand here at frigid Topeka, Kansas. Wind chill brings the temperature down in around the 30-degree range today. It has just been unbearably cold. Let's follow up, Don, about what Jim Head talked about moments ago. He said, point blank, it's foolish to even fire up a nitromethane power plant on a day where the wind chill brings your conditions down to 30 degrees, 29 degrees, what have you. Bottom line, though, is a lot of guys have made it down the quarter mile just fine. Not poking a finger at Jim Head, yet obviously he was disappointed. What's right, what's wrong?
Well, I don't think Jim Head would have said that. Number one, if he'd have won the round. Number two, if he'd have run real quick, he'd think it'd be the greatest day in the world.
We saw 461s.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, this isn't ideal conditions. Heck no, it'd be great for us all to go home and come back on a nice sunny day. But, we got to get on with business, and I believe this is just part of it.
Yeah.
It's a part of it if you're in school and things are going tough.
Yeah.
It's just like football, baseball. Who wants to play in the mud? So this is just the way it is, and we're doing it.
No different on the humid day when you have to change your nitro and your alcohol mixture, or the exceedingly warm day, but it's not been pleasant for some. Bobby Gerald, what you got for us?
Well, Eli, it's going to be a WWF first round here in the funny car. It'll be Tolliver versus Zeppler. We're down here with Rob Flynn, who calls the shots for Tolliver, and you've had success here before at Heartland Park with Whit Bazemore in '97. What do you think of this first round matchup?
I think this first round matchup is the track's going to be the big equalizer here, and Stone Cold's looking to even up on the Undertaker.
And they're getting ready to do it right now. We had thoughts of going over to talk to Wayne Dupuis, but maybe we'll just wait till after this pass, Eli, and we'll talk to the winning crew chief then.
We'll find out who ends up with the win and who goes into the turnbuckle to wrestle another day.
And here we go. Funny cars, man. That's what used to really turn my butt. When you fired them babies up like that, and hear that blower spinning over, and you got the fuel trimmed out, lower that body down, and roll out there and step into the throttle.
Folks, you can't see it, but the Snake is up here. He's gesturing, and he's got a big old smile on his face.
Man, I like to do, I used to like doing it like that, roll out there and smoke them tires. I just get a little extra, and then just to show them who was the man, who had the most power.
Of course, you were the man. You were able to do that.
And you're backing them up now, putting back in the cars up, and I thought, man, come on. I'm kind of like touching my gloves and feeling up everything, you know, touching my hands and make sure I'm real loose in there when I get back behind the start line. And I know some of these guys are thinking the same thing.
Did you have a personal preference, funny car versus top fueler?
Well, funny car, you know, 4 world championships. Yeah. You know, the Army car days, it was great. Mattel Hot Wheels. I had a really, I think, great funny car career. I really love the car. But, you know, nowadays, these carbon fiber bodies, bunch of horsepower, you know, 2 top cars here right now. This is going to be a good race.
Jerry Tolliver's machine now with a 2-car operation. That's Epler right there. Part of what is reported to be some $25 million over 5 years for a 2-car operation. The sponsorship from the WWF.
Yeah, that's even big money in Winston Cup, isn't it?
It's big money anywhere you want to count it. Well, we've got lots to talk about today. There's Jerry Tolliver's machine. Originally broke in with the old Whit Bazemore equipment. Didn't qualify in Richmond earlier this year, but he's run well at least. But the man says, thanks, boss. Jim Epler, the employee of 488 at 308 miles an hour, sends the boss home packing.
Yeah, 488. That's right on low ET of the meet.
Yeah.
That was low ET.
Super run, 488 for Epler. Bobby, they got to be tickled at that.
Well, I think they're a little bit more than tickled. It might be emotional down here. That's the best run of the weekend, Wayne Dupuis.
Yeah, we were trying some stuff yesterday, just trying to creep up on it, and you know, we tuned it up this morning. We know Flynn over there had some numbers to run that fast the other day, and his car broke. So we knew we had to run that fast to beat him. But I want to thank Jerry Tolliver for the WWF deal, my driver Jim Epler, and my crew for doing an outstanding job, and my co-crew chiefs Rob Flynn and Chris Cunningham.
Thanks. Sounds like they're going to be motovated for round number 2, Eli.
I would think so. You know, earlier this year, Jim Epler with the old operation, the Easy Care bunch, didn't have a lot of great runs at times. Took him a while to get down the quarter mile with all 8 cylinders. Well, it's all been rectified now. We're back in a moment. The Oakley colors, Scotty Cannon. And Interstate Batteries for Tommy Johnson Jr. This will be a good matchup right here.
Well, yeah, they're all going to be good matchups now. But the Interstate car is great. You know, Tommy Johnson won the last race, beat Ron Capps in the finals, but they're really strong.
Meanwhile, Jim Epler's made it to Steve Evans.
Good God almighty. Where did a 488 come from?
488? Oh, I don't believe that. That's our first 80, but man, I tell you what, I'm going to get fired if I keep doing this. You know, we didn't want to race Jerry the first round, but that's how it all worked out. But you know what? That was a beautiful, smooth run, and I mean, under these conditions, Wayne Dupuis and the rest of the guys did a heck of a job.
The Undertaker's alive and well with a career best.
Yep, a 488, a super effort there for Jim Epler. And as Steve says, you take a look back at the numbers, Epler had a 493 at Richmond earlier this year as his career best, so that does eclipse that. Let's see if the Nitro Mater, that's what Scotty Cannon calls his car, can get by the first round, because he lost the first round to Brainerd to Gary Dinsham. Redding, he lost to Jim Epler in the first round. And of course, he's facing the Redding winner. Some kind of horsepower. 495 at 314 miles an hour. Give the win light to Tommy Johnson Jr.
Great run. Great run. That's what they need. I believe that's their quickest so far this weekend. That Interstate car's flying.
Sure are, Barbie.
Well, it's a great run, and that's pretty solid. We've seen some good numbers here all day today.
Well, the numbers can be really erratic on a day like today. It's just marginally cold, and if you get a hold of the racetrack, the car can run really good, or otherwise you'll spin the tires.
And you guys ran really good. Congratulations.
Good, thanks.
So the Interstate Battery team will race again later on against the winner of Al Hoffman and Kristen Powell. Watch this. Scotty had problems, saw him mixing things up, had to pedal it there to save it off the wall.
Tommy Johnson got a good start, though. Notice the car moving around a little bit at the other end. It wants to spin the tires, but it's not dropping any cylinders or anything. Nice and clean.
Let's go to Steve.
Well, Tommy Johnson Jr., that was his 5th consecutive win light, counting the 4 he got just 2 weeks ago in Maple Grove, Pennsylvania. And the rookie stripes are off of this baby. Another solid 490 run.
That's great. You know, you don't know what to expect out here in the Iceberg Nationals here, but nice, good run, real good, and got right down through there, and had a lot of confidence in these guys on this interstate team. So do my job, get her down there.
The Iceberg Nationals at Road, Alaska.
Seems like at Heartland Park, the 9th race for Tommy Johnson Jr. now for that Joe Gibbs interstate team.
Yeah, they've put together a great operation there.
Now Al Huffman and Kristen Powell. Kristen, a number 4 qualifier. Al is in at number 13.
Yeah, and how about Kristen, huh? This is her running pretty good. You know, she just knew the funny car. She did a great job in Top Fuel. And, you know, girl driving the funny car, that's the only girl we have out here. And she out-qualified a ton of the guys. So she's doing good. But Al Hoffman, on the other hand, he's strong, too. And I'm sure he doesn't want this lady to beat him.
Al Hoffman, never know. It's been an up and down kind of year, certainly. He had a lot of changes mid-season. He started with Jimbo Ermolovich as crew chief again, and then finally made a change a few weeks ago, decides to go it on his own. And Kristen wants to prove that the fact that she didn't qualify at Reading was simply because she arrived late from home in Oregon because of all the Hurricane Floyd problems with the air travel.
You believe that?
It was not pretty by any stretch. The booms and the pedals and the final number. Hey, I could have done that, 59 miles an hour.
Something happened to Hoffman. I mean, he's one of the best pedalers they have out there. Car must have quit, ignition system, something failed on it, because he could have just pedaled it on through there. And obviously, she just coasted the whole track. So, fortunate, but you never know.
An 840 at 111 miles an hour for the winning effort of Kristen Powell, Bobby.
Terry Manzer, that was a wild one there.
Yeah, we just a big wild guess out here right now, and we guessed wrong, but luckily she got to the other end first. That's all we can say right now.
How's Kristen's learning curve coming along here in the funny car?
It's not the problem. We're the problem right now. We just got to learn how to make this car work with her. It has changed the weight balance around in the car a little bit. As soon as we get that figured out a little better, we'll hopefully do better.
See you in round 2.
Thank you.
She's had some good runs, of course. Had that fine 492 to qualify at Indianapolis in 7th spot.
Sure has, but she blew the tires off early. Hoffman's definitely in trouble over there on the left lane. It just quit on him.
Welcome back to Topeka, the number 3 man in funny car points. Whit Bazemore, 393 markers behind John Force. Number 1 qualifier. He has drawn Larry Huff in the opening round of elimination.
Yeah, how about Larry Huff? I was talking to him the other day. Larry was a guy we've known years ago that played around in drag racing and always wanted to drive one of these funny cars. I know he's older than I am. And he just came in here and bingo, he's gotten this show. He's tickled to death.
544 for him at 237 miles an hour.
But, man, he's got some competition here running the low ET guy. That
488 for Whit Bazemore. But I'll tell you, guys like Jack Wyatt didn't make it, and Dale Creasy Jr. and Dean Scusa and Tim Wilkerson. But, Kristen, you're in. You're advancing.
Kristen and I are dancing down here trying to keep warm. Every time you get on the racetrack, you learn something else about how to drive a funny car.
Oh, that's for sure. And that wasn't a pretty win, I must say, but we got it. That's my first funny car win, and we're really upset John Costanza couldn't be here. He's on business, but you know, we're going to call him up and yell and scream on the phone and tell him we won, and this JCIT car is going to win rounds.
She's having a lot of fun doing it. Excuse me. You know, I'm willing to raise my previous offer. No?
No.
How about you? You a player? No?
No.
Oh, well.
Sorry, Steve. We'll take up a pool. Maybe we can chip in.
How about Kristen? She looks like somebody you'd see on a swing set someplace in a playground. She's so pretty and so young looking, but boy, does she do a good job in that race car.
Yep, and like she said, she advances, and they don't give you style points.
That's right.
They just get you to the finish, and you take your 20 and move on. Let's see what happens here if we can see Whit Bazemore and Larry Huff have a good quarter-mile run. Watch for that green light on the reaction timer. You'll know who'll leave first. And in that instant, There was no green light, only the red light, as Huff jumps it, figuring that's his only way to beat Whit Bazemore.
Absolutely, and I'm sure Bazemore saw that win light, but keep in mind, though, he needed to make a good run so he gets lane choice.
Yeah.
You know, you could shut off he's automatically won the race, but he wanted to run it down through there. He gets a number on the board in case he has to race somebody tough.
It'll be a 5:42 for Whit at 262 miles an hour.
And that could win him lane choice.
It could. Lane choice already going to Tommy Johnson against Kristen at a 495.
I guess it won't.
Never know, though. And
yeah, you never know, and that's why they stay on it like that, you know, to see what's happening. Here we go. Huff knew he had to leave. Too soon, folks. See the flames start to come out of the pipes. You could just tell he was just way too early.
.400 is a perfect reaction time. He was at a .297.
Yeah, way too early. And by the way, folks at home, the green light, yeah, you need to see the green light, but you better see it out the corner of your eye because you leave on the amber. Here you go, bingo. Yep. You gotta watch that. He jumped right on that amber light. By the time that car moves, the green comes on, he's gone. That's how close you have to be up
there. In the background, burnouts underway. Tony Pedregon and Bob Gilbertson squaring off right here.
Yes, they do, but I understand now that Tony's got a single here. Yeah. Bob had a fire the other day, couldn't get his car repaired, couldn't come back. This is a big break. They like to have these 20 points. We'd like to be in this position. Unfortunately for his competitor, he had to go home.
Saw Gilbertson at the hotel last night, and they were hoping for the best, but not to be, Steve.
No, but it is to be for Whit Bazemore. I'm sure you saw that red. Then what happened?
Well, it went out, it shook. The Kendall Camaro shook a little bit, which we were halfway expecting that in these conditions. And I would have driven to the finish line. It had a hole out, and no sense in blowing it up here in the first round. I knew we had the win, but I'll tell you what, it's awfully tough out here, and the guys that run real well. Epler watching that car, that was pretty impressive. So we'll be ready for round two.
I don't think anybody's much concerned about lane choice right now, Snake.
I don't think so either. Just getting the win's a big deal, and he's very happy about that because it would have been very easy to lose that. That wasn't a stellar ET, and he was fortunate, and he knows it.
Now Tony Pedregon will have that single. He's second in points, down by 280 to his team owner John Force. Well, he just pedals it and shuts her down.
See, now let me explain that to you. They knew this morning they had a single. They hopped that baby up. They wanted to lay one down. And, of course, bingo, shook the tires out there.
It's going to be a 10.11. Obviously not enough for lane choice, but he advances at 83 miles an hour.
Presenting 8-time funny car champion John Force to test the Frame Extra Guard filter with its new short grip top.
It's easy to hold on to. See, I still got it. They ain't kidding about that rough textured grip. Couldn't drop it if I wanted to.
Oh, baby! The new Frame Extra Guard with short grip.
It sure makes changing your oil filter a lot easier.
The man, John Force, leading the points, rewriting the record books. But there's the Snakes man, Ron Capps, ready for the big-time win over Force.
Yeah, as long as you're going to do this, you might as well just race the #1 guy right off the bat and smoke him off. That's what we need to do here.
Ron Capps, who won here last year, pulling away from Al Hoffman. Now, Force has uncharacteristically been beaten in some first rounds lately. Last couple of outings, and at Sonoma as well. Can you guys take him down realistically?
Well, the car's set up to do it. Certainly we knew we had to race Force, and certainly we knew we had to step on it. And the car's capable. It runs a lot of 490s. It does a lot of good things. It's run 485 before, and Dale Armstrong working on it now. Why not? We don't think so. We're not going up here to lose, I can tell you that. But, what the heck? Force is a tough guy. You got to be on your toes. I think Cap's the guy to do it today.
Cap's on his game, even though he lost in the finals to Johnson at Reading. He was in the finals, whereas John Force lost in the opening round to Corey Lee there.
Yeah, one never knows. You notice how they're picking the body up on his car. On our Camaro, the Copenhagen car, we don't do that. They pick the body up on their car to make some adjustments. You see Austin Coyle in there. He's fooling around with the idle circuit. He's looking down right now at a computer down there that's telling the RPMs that he wants for this run. They're shutting it down. Everything's cool.
And you guys do all of that before the burnout?
We do all that before the burnout. Our car's set up a little bit different way. That's been their style for years. They raise the body up. We prefer not to do that.
John Force in the Castrol GTX entry. And Team Copenhagen for Ron Capps, owned by the man to my left, Dom the Snake Prudhomme. Pre-staging. Now they're in.
Yeah.
Capps had the whole shot, but Force with a 484 at 287 miles an hour.
Yeah, great run, great run. 44, that's quick time so far. And
yeah.
He had a little bit of fire down there. We knew we had to step on it, and our car just shook out there, just had too much. See, there it goes. It's moving. Got into the tire
right
shake.
there.
He had to pedal it, and it was to no avail. Now, of course, John's going, see that flash underneath? It's starting to eat itself up right there.
It's amazing. Everybody talked about Epler's 488, and Force outdoes him.
What's amazing about that car, and it amazes all of us, as it runs down the course, it really hurts itself a lot of times. No fire. It doesn't seem to catch on fire.
Steve Evans at the far end with John.
John has always had tremendous success here at Topeka. Low elapsed time, 484. Take that.
Well, I tell you, we got after it against those guys. We know Dale Armstrong's over there. But bottom line, man, she trembled a little bit. I thought she was a little bit weak, and then it trucked, but then it blew up on fire, and it just kept going. And I set out the fireballs. She's still trucking down there burning. But, you know, we've been talking about why we get beat first round, because we're playing safe. Now we're safe, but we ain't safe. Maybe we're just stupid, but we're sure having fun.
I can't add to that.
He's talking so quickly, his mouth was smoking. Did you see that?
Yeah, and it was right. It was on fire, and he was still pedaling it down there. I could see some flames going up and fire coming out the pipes and some flames underneath the hood of the car. But it goes out immediately. Most of the guys would have the thing would have burned to the ground down there. So.
Next pair coming up, Del Worsham and Corey Lee. Del for Checkers, Shucks, and Cragen. And it's been an exciting time. They announced they'll be fielding a second car for Frank Pedregon next year. CSK, Checkers, Shucks, and Cragen re-upping for both of those cars. And then Corey Lee for Pioneer Electronics, trying to pull off a big win here in Topeka. Welcome back. It is a cold, cold day here. Temperatures with the wind chill now dropping below 30 degrees. Bobby, it's been kind of hot down there with you.
Yeah, it has. And we're down here with Chuck Worsham. Eli is Dell's dad. And you guys have qualified for every race this year.
Yeah, I got pretty close in one race. We were 16th and 15th. We found it better here. Came in 6th, though we're getting better.
We saw you checking on something there just a moment ago. It looked like maybe there was a problem. Everything all right?
We're not sure. We're going to start right now. One of the retarders for the mags isn't working right. We think we got it fixed, but I think it's just the cold weather. It's got one of the solenoids sticking on it.
Well, I can't add to that, but I'm sure the snake can.
Yeah, my solenoid sticks in the cold days, Snake.
Yeah, what he's talking about, when you step on the throttle of these cars and about where you get out to the Christmas tree, the ignition actually retards then to relax the tire. In other words, the RPMs fall down in the car automatically, and they can come back up, and it relaxes the tire and it gets you going. Now, if that retarder isn't working correctly, and isn't set up right, it could smoke the tires. They could have some trouble, so he's real concerned about that.
If you're curious about lane choice, we showed you in the top fuelers, 4 guys, 1 from the far lane and 4, 1 from the near lane. Look at this. A little different and funny car. Just coincidence?
Right now, the lanes are just, as far as I'm concerned, they're just fine. Both lanes are good, so we shouldn't have a problem here at all.
Interesting, though, to see how the numbers change from one division of the National Hot Rod Association to the other. Let's talk about Del Worsham, and we talk how he's going to be fielding a second car for Frank Pedregon next year. Of course, meaning that Frank moves away from Dunn with the Moon Eye sponsorship going over there. Multiple car teams. We are seeing it now in kart, in the Pep Boys IRL, in NASCAR. Is that the way to go strategically, or is it just because there were dollars available and you say, let's go ahead and do it?
Well, the extra funding sure doesn't hurt anything at all, but you can also get information from the other car, like Force does with his car. He's the one that really started all this. He's raised the stakes a lot, but they get some good information from it, and yeah, I think it's a good way to go. There's certainly nothing wrong with it. It keeps you going. It keeps your sponsor having 2 shots at winning, for one thing, instead of 1 shot. It's also an expensive situation.
Corey Lee. Don't make them any nicer than him.
No, they really don't. And Tom Hoover, the owner of this car, and Pioneer, they've done a great job. They've been in the sport for a long time. And Hoover, I used to race against him in my funny car days. And Corey Lee's doing a great job as a driver in the car, and he's a good lever. Dale Worsham's got... Man, them burnouts, huh? It sure talks right through the earphones here, but it's a great sound. Backing up both of them, I'm sure, are real pumped for the round. But I was fixing to say, though, is that Worsham's really good on the starting line.
He is.
And both of them are real good. They're young kids. They're real aggressive.
Corey's been in the business 16 years, began as a mechanic originally.
Yeah, and that's something that Tom gave him that shot. And just like Larry Dixon on my team, you know, he was a mechanic. And that's how some of these guys used to come up. How often you get a chance to have $1 million piece of an operation or piece of equipment for a young fellow to drive. But, you know, they worked their way up, so you got to give Corey Lee a lot of credit for sticking in there and knowing all about these cars.
The Seattle win for Del Worsham earlier this season, the first in 8 years. But he lost to Tony Pedregon in the first round at Maple Grove, Reading, Pennsylvania, last time out.
Yes, but he's been running real consistent here. He's been laying down some good numbers, and he's going to be somebody to be reckoned with here, especially in the near future with that 2-car team.
Had a great 496 in Houston earlier this season, did Del Worsham. Corey Lee, he ousted John Force, remember, in the first round last weekend. Man, that'll just send the shivers up your spine. Del Worsham with the winning numbers out of 5:07, 304 miles an hour.
Yeah, great run. But Corey Lee on the other lane, he did a pretty good wheel stand there.
So Del Worsham will advance. Later on, he'll meet John Force here at Heartland Park, Topeka.
Coverage of the 1999 NHRA Winston Championship is being brought to you by Mopar. Parts for Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, and Jeep vehicles from the dealerships that sell and install them. That's the Mopar difference. And Advance Auto Parts. The best part is our people.
The final pair of funny cars set to go. Near lane, the dark machine. That is Frank Pedregon. Frank is now 4th in points, 681 behind the point leader, John Force, and of course Gary Densham for NEC in the other lane. Steve?
Well, for Del Worsham, it's the old good news, bad news. The good news is you're going to round 2. The bad news is John Force will be in the other lane.
Yeah, I know, but just right now to get past first round, these conditions, go out there, protect the trucks, Craig and Pontiac. We'll be glad to go to the second round. Maybe, like we all know, anything can happen in these rounds.
Well, they got him, first round recently.
Indeed so. Frank Pedregon wrapping up his association with that man, Jim Dunn. As we said, Moon Eyes will be back as a sponsor next year. And there's Gary Densham, one of the handful of guys to beat John Force in the first round this year also.
Yes, exactly. And you talk about, he's a school teacher on top of it on the side. So.
Time and then pulled away at the end of the quarter mile. A 5:35 at 298 miles an hour. That'll give him lane choice over Whit Bazemore also.
And a great 458 light.
Bobby Gerald.
Well, here's Jim Dunn. You guys will have lane choice against Bazemore in round 2.
Yeah, the way we ran, it doesn't make any difference. We don't shake, we'll get down. If we shake, we'll lose.
It's about as simple as that, I guess, huh?
The world according to Jim.
I think I'd be a little bit more excited than that.
So Whit Bazemore.
You know, these rounds are so important, so hard to win. So hard to win it.
Yeah. Frank Pedregon lane choice. Johnson will have lane choice. Jim Epler Lane Choice over Tony Pedregon, and John Force with Lane Choice over Del Worsham.
And we're going to see some good racing.
We have got 2 more hours of coverage coming your way later today on Fox. Yeah, that's been the story those all day long. The wind chill, the temperatures, an unusual day here at Heartland Park. Hope you can join us at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox Sports Net. The Snake and I, Steve Evans, Bobby Gerald, will all be on hand to bring you the final round action. And it's going to be interesting. It's not likely that the conditions will change any, other than it might even get a little colder. But once you reach this plateau, 30 degrees kind of deal, does it matter if it goes to 25, or is it all basically the same now?
No, what's important right now is that everybody's got their first runs in Top Fuel and Funny Car. They know what to adjust for. Track conditions, folks. I'm really surprised. I mean, they got record times. Force run, how about that, 484?
Yeah, Epler with a 488.
Yeah, not too bad. That's quick time. So who can complain about the racetrack? It's great. We're gonna see some good racing coming up.
Sorry that both of your guys went out today, Dixon and Caps, but I think when you showed up here in the booth, you didn't have that twinkle in your eye like you did at Brainerd. I think you had an idea it might not work out.
Well, it's just, you do this long enough, you have a feeling, and things just haven't been going good for our teams, but we're turning things around. Things will be great next year.
Let's check in with Steve Evans.
Well, Frank Pedregon, a 5:35 should have sent you home. Instead, it sent you to the second round.
Yeah, I had to pedal it once there, but that's all right. It's what it's all about. Drivers and crew chiefs is what's going to win it out here today.
And all of us guys from Southern California, this is new for us.
Not used to this stuff here. I had to borrow somebody's beanie and all kinds of warm stuff. Keep me warm, but hey, we're here and we got to make the best of it.
Hey, he's a beach guy, man.
I was going to say, Frank Pedregon in a beanie is not pretty.
I was by my shop the other day. We were talking about the cold weather coming up here.
Well, we've seen all sorts of stories unfold. The remainder comes your way at 5 o'clock Eastern Time on Fox. Hope you can make your plans to join us again here at Heartland Park in Topeka, Kansas. For the Snake, Don Prudhomme. For Steve Evans and Bobby Gerald, I'm Eli Gold. Thanks for joining us. We're back this afternoon at 5 o'clock Eastern Time as Fox brings you continuing coverage of the 11th Annual Advance Auto Parts NHRA Nationals from Topeka. We'll see you later.